June 14, 2017. Los Angeles, California. The air inside Studio A at East West Studios was thick with the smell of old wood, warm cables, and the faint trace of coffee someone had left too long on a console. Evening light filtered through the tall windows, washing the room in a dusty gold that made every floating particle look suspended in slow motion. Blake Shelton sat alone in the booth, one knee bouncing restlessly, the soft buzz of the mixing board filling the silence. Outside the glass, the city hummed with its endless pulse, but inside, it felt like time had pinned itself to the floor, unwilling to move until Blake did. He leaned forward, elbows on his thighs, studying the notebook in his hands. The pages were rumpled, the ink smudged in places where his fingers had lingered too long. A single lyric sat circled 3 times, heavy enough to anchor his whole chest. You were the quiet in a world that never stopped talking. He didn't know why he'd written it 3 months into dating Gwen Stefani. He only knew it came from a place he didn't dare explain aloud back then, not when everything between them still felt fragile, like a secret someone might overhear and break. A floorboard creaked behind him. Blake didn't have to look to know it was Gwen. Her steps were light, careful, the way she always walked when she sensed his thoughts drifting somewhere she wasn't sure she could follow. "Hey," she said gently, her voice carrying that warm, airy tone he never got tired of hearing. He turned slightly, offering a soft smile. "Didn't think you'd make it." She shrugged, easing into the room with the quiet grace of someone used to floating between chaos and calm. "Kelly ran late to rehearsal, so I had time. Figured I'd come see what you were working on." Blake closed the notebook, not fully but just enough that she couldn't immediately read the lyrics. Gwen noticed, she always noticed, but said nothing as she pulled a chair beside him. Her perfume lingered in the small space between them. Citrus, vanilla, and something faintly floral, like the ghost of a stage bouquet. "What's got you hiding pages?" she teased softly. He chuckled under his breath. "Just old stuff. Lyrics I never finished." Her eyes glimmered with that kind of curiosity that could unravel a man if he wasn't careful. "I like your unfinished things," she whispered. "They're honest." Blake swallowed. The truth was, this line had always scared him, even now, because it said something about her he'd known long before he told her he loved her. Something that made him feel seen in a way he had never been before. Before he could answer, the studio door swung open. Kelly Clarkson stepped inside, breathless, hair messy from rushing, a water bottle tucked under one arm. "Okay, seriously," she announced loudly. "Why is there always this dramatic emotional lighting when you two are in the same room? It's like walking into a country music romance novel." Gwen laughed. Blake rolled his eyes. "Maybe that's just how real artists work." "Sorry you can't relate." Kelly tossed a balled-up napkin at his head. "Right, because you sitting in the dark brooding over your notebook is peak artistry." Gwen shot Kelly a playful look. "Be nice, he's sensitive today." Kelly raised an eyebrow, and then she noticed the notebook. "Oh, is this one of those songs?" Blake clutched it reflexively. "No, it's nothing." Which, of course, meant Kelly now needed to read it. Before he could stop her, she swooped forward, snatching the notebook from his hands with the speed of someone who had raised children and fought tour managers simultaneously. "Kelly!" Gwen yelped, half laughing, half mortified. But Kelly was already scanning. Her face shifted. Amusement softened into something quieter, more contemplative. She read the circled line once, twice, then a third time. "Oh my God," she whispered. Blake looked away, heart thudding. Gwen leaned in closer, her brow furrowing. What does it say?" Kelly's voice dropped into something reverent. This is about you." Gwen blinked. "What do you mean? I've never seen that lyric." Kelly didn't answer. She simply handed her the notebook. Gwen's fingers trembled slightly as she lifted it, eyes tracing the familiar handwriting she'd seen on birthday cards, notes left on the kitchen counter, and scribbles tucked into guitar cases. But the words hit her differently now. There was a weight to them. A sincerity. A vulnerability she hadn't realized Blake had been carrying that early in their relationship. You were the quiet in a world that never stopped talking. Gwen inhaled sharply. The studio seemed to shrink, pressing the three of them into a moment that felt both intimate and unbearably exposed. Blake, she breathed. Why didn't you ever show me this? He rubbed the back of his neck. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't ready for you to see how much you already meant to me back then. Kelly softened. Wow. Gwen stared at the page, her eyes glistening under the warm studio lights. I didn't know you felt that way so early. Blake leaned back, exhaling long and slow. I didn't know how to say it without freaking you out. For a while, none of them spoke. The quiet settled around them like a thin blanket, comforting and fragile at the same time. Then Kelly broke it with a soft laugh. Well, congratulations, you've emotionally wrecked Gwen Stefani today. Gwen swatted at her, smiling through watery eyes. Shut up. But the smile faded as quickly as it appeared, replaced by something deeper. She turned back to Blake, voice quieter, steadier. Why did you hide this for so long? Blake hesitated, and something in the way he shifted told Gwen she wasn't asking a simple question. She was asking for the truth, the whole truth, the kind he'd spent years guarding behind jokes and country boy charm. He stood, pacing to the far end of the studio, hands on his hips. The fading daylight painted him in a soft glow, the kind that made him look both older and younger at the same time. Because, he said finally, when we met, I was trying so damn hard not to fall apart. And you were this kind of peace I didn't think I deserved yet. That line scared me. It felt like admitting I'd already crossed a line I wasn't supposed to. Gwen rose from her seat, her steps slow, deliberate. Blake. He glanced at her, eyes shining in the half-light. I wrote that before we were even official. I wrote it after you stayed late one night at rehearsals, just talking to me. No cameras. No pressure. Just you. And it hit me so hard I didn't know what to do with it. She touched his arm. I never knew. You weren't supposed to, he whispered. In the booth, Kelly pretended to busy herself with a soundboard, but she was listening. They all knew she was listening, because in moments like this, love didn't belong to just two people. It spilled out, filling the room, claiming witnesses whether they wanted to be part of the story or not. Gwen closed her eyes briefly, letting the moment settle inside her. Then she looked up again, her expression shifting, curious, searching. Why did you circle it 3 times? Blake laughed quietly. Because I kept trying to rewrite it. Make it less revealing. He shrugged helplessly. But nothing ever fit better. Gwen's smile returned, softer this time, almost disbelieving. I can't believe I never saw this. Kelly stepped forward, tapping the open notebook. Actually, that's what I came here to talk about. Blake frowned. What? Kelly cleared her throat. So, I was doing an interview yesterday, one of those long-form ones where they ask about songwriting inspirations and stuff, and they pulled up this old clip from years ago. A behind-the-scenes thing from The Voice. She pointed at the circled lyric. And I swear, Blake, you said something that sounds like you were hinting at this line before you ever wrote it down. Blake blinked. What clip? Kelly grabbed her phone, scrolling quickly, then held it out. On the screen, a younger Blake stood backstage during a break in taping. Gwen was across the room laughing with a stylist. A reporter asked him offhandedly what surprised him most about working with her. Blake smirked shyly in the clip. I don't know, she's just quiet in a way that makes everything else seem less loud. The reporter chuckled. You mean peaceful? Blake shrugged. Yeah, something like that. Gwen covered her mouth. Her eyes darted between the video and the lyric. Blake. That's practically the same line. He flushed, rubbing his jaw. Yeah, well, guess it stuck with me longer than I realized. Kelly crossed her arms triumphantly. See. Hidden meaning. Public but unnoticed. Until now. Gwen stared at him, something shifting behind her eyes. Not shock, not sadness, but a tender realization that felt almost sacred. You felt that way even then? Even before everything in your life changed? Blake nodded slowly. Yeah, I did. They stood there for a long moment, silence pressing in around them again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It wasn't fragile. It was full of memory, of recognition, of a truth finally pulled into the light. Gwen reached for his hand. Thank you for letting me see this now. He squeezed her fingers gently. I should have shown you sooner. Kelly sniffed dramatically. Okay, I'm gonna cry. Can we talk about something stupid now before I completely lose it? Gwen laughed, wiping her eyes. Not yet. She turned back to Blake, her voice soft but firm. Sing it. Blake blinked. What? Sing the line, she insisted. I want to hear it the way you meant it. He hesitated. Vulnerability was easier on paper than in the open air, but Gwen's hand on his cheek steadied him. So he sang. Quietly. Softly. The way he had imagined it the night he wrote it, when the world felt too loud and she was the only part that made sense. And as his voice filled the room, Gwen closed her eyes, letting the notes wash over her, letting the meaning settle into her bones in a way it never could have years ago. When he finished, the air in the studio felt thinner, yet somehow easier to breathe. Gwen stepped closer, pressing her forehead to his. I wish I had known, she whispered. Blake brushed a thumb beneath her eye. You know now. Kelly sniffed again, turning away. Okay, seriously, I'm done. I can't be a part of this emotional indie film moment anymore. They all laughed, breaking the intensity just enough for the room to feel normal again. Or at least as normal as a place can feel after a revelation that changes the way two people see their entire past. A few minutes later, Gwen opened the notebook again, tracing the faded ink of the lyric as if trying to absorb its meaning fully. You should finish this song. Not for the album. For us. Blake smiled, a small private smile that only she ever saw. Yeah, he murmured. Maybe it's time. The night deepened outside, the distant city lights flickering like fireflies trapped in glass towers. Inside the studio, Blake picked up his guitar. Gwen settled beside him. Kelly dimmed the lights, giving the moment a quiet kind of permission. Blake strummed softly, finding the chord progression he'd never finished, letting the music guide him rather than the fear that once held him back. Gwen watched, her heart steady, her breath calm, understanding now what she had meant to him all along, long before she ever realized it herself. As the melody grew, Blake looked up. You ready? Gwen nodded. Always. And as he played, as the unfinished song finally began to take shape, she understood something she hadn't before. Sometimes the most important truths hide in plain sight, waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right breath of courage to bring them into the open. And sometimes, the message was there all along. You just had to finally be ready to hear it.